Buzstop Boys.
Buzstop Boys. We can at least go to the bus stops and then begin to keep the whole place clean. And whatever it is that a bus stop is, it's enough to say that you are living in the dirtiest country in the world. Once I was going through it, I felt like I was being controlled in a way. So that is the point where I gave up. People say don't give up, but for me, if what I'm doing doesn't really get me the results I'm looking for, I don't care. I'll give up and I'll start again. Malaria is not scared of President Mahama, and he knows it. If there's something we can all fight or we can all do in order to take off malaria, I think that one we shouldn't play politics about it. We are 68 years old and you see things the way it is now, and you ask yourself, where are we going? In this 21st century where there's abundance of technology and AI, we are still holding brooms and sweeping. What happens to a street sweeper? The only way I can express myself is if I find my own means of survival. So for me, I was not going to school because I want to be employed. My perception about life is that I must always win in my head before somebody sees me winning. More or less like communicating with yourself, and the thing said, go and do Buzstop Boys. That's what I had in my head. When I came home, that was when I informed my girlfriend about how I think we need to do Buzstop Boys. I didn't know what.
Hello, community. So the conversation about to listen to is one with Heneba Kwadwo Safo. He's a leader of the nonprofit Buzstop Boys, essentially championing clean city and sanitation causes in Ghana. Remarkable young man, and I think I'll just leave you to listen to the conversation. We just did a dive through his experiences prior to starting the Buzstop Boys, his motivation. I think for me, what stood out for me is his keen focus on changing the African mindset. And yeah, as our mantra remains, just build something. Heneba, thanks for coming.
Thank you for
Heneba
having me.
Kwadwo Safo.
Yeah, sure.
You're the leader of the very famous and very impactful Buzstop Boys.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really excited about what you're doing. I feel like it's a very, very instrumental project you guys are onto. I feel like whatever we do as an economy, as a country, it hinges on like sanitation. Yeah, and so I'm excited that you're here. Thanks for taking the time. You're a very difficult man to reach, you know.
Oh, not really.
A very difficult man to reach, because I think you've had to change the time a couple of times, you know, but I understand. You're busy keeping us from destroying ourselves.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Buzstop Boys. I gather that you picked up the idea out of conversations with your grandfather, Apostle Kwadwo Safo. My sincere condolences, anyway.
Sure.
And so I would want to touch on that subject a little. Your relationship with him. There's like a legend, you know. How is it like, you know, always having to draw from him? How is it like? Hello, friends. A quick pause before we continue the conversation. If you're enjoying this conversation, kindly hit the subscribe button. Also, do well to share this episode with a friend. And if possible, leave a comment in the comment section. This goes a long way to help the team and motivates us to bring you great content every week. Now to the conversation.
Okay, so I say he's somebody that I grew up knowing him as the definition of what it takes to be selfless, you know, because even from onset, I remember from the 90s, in fact, from the 80s up to the 90s, where we started seeing some of the things, there's a man who can, you know, go out there with his people and they can farm, let's say, acres of maize. And at the end of the day, they bag everything and then share everything to everybody. Yeah. Meanwhile, those who are following him, some of them needs the kind of things that they are sharing. But hey, he says it's going to the prisons, it's going to the children's home, it's for the needy, it's for the poor and all of that. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest form of selflessness. Yeah. You know, so these are the examples that we were picking from even as we growing up. He's the only person that I know has a couple of story buildings, but never rented any, or has been given to people to live in for free.
Wow.
So he's a whole sort of inspiration. And the fact that he has a motto that says service to mankind is service to God. And for me, growing up to this point, if I'm to decode service to mankind, service to God, to what he does, that is literally living by his mission.
Yeah.
And for me, I think the human being is the biggest spirit that needs to be respected.
Yeah.
You know, not because of, partly yes, because of how I grew up knowing Kantanka and how he perceived life. I think the human being is the biggest to be respected, because today we are talking about brands. Let's take Sarkodie, for example. Imagine the human beings that are following Sarkodie decide to withdraw in a day. What becomes of Sarkodie? Nothing.
That's true.
So if there's anything that makes everything relevant, is the human. And therefore I feel like service to mankind, service to God really makes sense with the kind of things that Kantanga does. And for me, I see him as somebody who is abound with all sort of knowledge. Because I remember at the time when the whole nation was fighting the disease, the worms, army worms. They were destroying the maize, and every maize farmer was complaining. He sat in a room, came out with a medication or a solution that is not harmful to you as a human, but he spread it on the maize and the army worms die. For something, I feel like Africans, we don't really understand what life is about. We are always crying for magic, but magic will always come through human. There is no way anybody or any spirit can work without accessing the human body. So we are the only constant that makes everything beautiful. So I believe that we should forget about who is an Akan and who is an Ashanti, and begin to understand or look at life on the ladder of how do we as a collective build this place from wherever it is now to a certain level that we will all be proud of. Because one thing is key, whether 8 years or 4 years, they will still come back and be a normal Ghanaian. If from Accra to Kumasi and the road is a motorway, we all enjoy. If it's full of potholes, we still suffer. So I feel like we should begin to understand that indeed, for us to thrive as a nation, we need to prioritize the service that we render to the people as the only service that is making everything beautiful.
Interesting.
So trying to just link a bit of the passion and why we don't give up, because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, in 100 years, everybody becomes history. So it is only the history that will make those who come after, whether when they hear your name, they are going to be furious, or when they hear your name, you will stand up and give you respect. All depends on what you do now. And I believe being selfless is the key. The only difference why today people can willingly go out there to fight for Nkrumah, not because he fed them, is because he lived for the people. And I think that is the kind of missing, or the kind of link that is currently missing in all forms of leadership. If it is, I'm sure the conversation about Galamsey would have been dead the very first day somebody spoke about it. That day now I would die. Because if indeed we want to serve our people and prioritize their interests as the only constant that will make even leadership meaningful, then of course children are dying from cyanide, and we need to stop it.
Wow. So it just tells me that, I think for me, the major influence Apostle Kwadwo Safo, I mean, again, my condolences to you, and thanks for taking the time, has had on you is to live a selfless life, selfless life, service to mankind, right? And clearly, what you're doing with the Buzstop Boys is an epitome of that. Voluntarily do the least comely activity for free, more or less, very commendable. And so I would like to know, I know you are a trained civil engineer.
Yeah, practical. I didn't go to school for it, but I learned on the job.
Okay. So was the influence from him too? Because I know he's an engineer.
Oh no, okay, that one. I was, while I was even in school, I had my own. I started with taxi, trying to. One thing about me. Oh, okay. I went to University of Ghana anyway.
Okay.
And whilst I was on campus, I had my own taxi.
Okay.
And off, or if I don't have lectures, that's where I move around. For me, I believe the only way I can express myself is when if I find my own means of survival.
Yeah.
So for me, I was not going to school because I want to be employed.
Yeah.
Well, even though along the line, but if I have to pin down my life in circles, I would say that I've been employed only once out of the lot.
Okay.
Maybe 2. Yes, because I've taught before. That is after SHS.
Okay. Which
and
SHS?
I went to Koko Secondary School, Kosek.
Okay.
I think it's the only secondary school in the whole of the West, the co-West.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is basically me. So while I was on campus, I even started, I even got that vehicle. It wasn't like I had the money to buy, but I started doing this work and pay, and I had my own taxi. So after school, I was able to add Uber to it, and I gave out the taxi. But then, once I was going through it, I felt like I was being controlled in a way, because look at Uber. You turn on your app and you get a request. Sometimes you have to drive like 10 minutes just to go and pick somebody who is going like 1 minute. So that is the point where I gave up. I don't believe, people say don't give up, but for me, if what I'm doing doesn't really get me the results I'm looking for, I don't care. I'll give up and I'll start again. Okay. So I gave up on driving, and I decided, that's when a friend and a senior man, of course, called Kwabna Asempa, he's a civil engineer. So he's the guy who pulled me on for the first time to start with driving.
Okay.
So it was through driving, I learned the total station, how they mount their service. And so I was learning. And then from there, they took me from driving and they took me to batching plant. The batching plant is basically that machine that's, in road construction, because of the volume of concrete that we need, it's done with the batching plant, which more or less like automatic mixing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went there to supervise the job and I left there. I went there as a helper, if you want to switch one way or the other, they need to first bring you down.
Yeah.
So as a driver, they brought me down to like labor.
Entry level.
Yes, so I went there to do the job as labor, but I'm eager to learn and be myself. So I was able to learn through it and I came out of that as supervisor to the batching plant.
Oh, okay.
So when it comes to civil engineering, like especially with the concrete works, that is my field. So I tell you, if we need to do whether U drains, whether we need to do trapezium drain and a class of concrete that is required, the strength and everything. That's basically how I, call myself a civil engineer by practice. But it's not like I have certificate for it, but I can do a better job than those who have certificates.
And that's interesting because what you do with Buzstop Boys is really civil engineering. A subsidiary of civil engineering is like sanitation and environmental engineering. So that's very interesting. What did you study at University of Ghana?
Well, I did CYP. CYP was like a Commonwealth youth program. I think that specifically aligns with the SDGs. At the time, they wanted to train some people who would more or less like be the field workers and whatnot.
Okay.
That's what I did. That was for 2 years though.
Oh, okay. I see. So, Buzstop Boys. There's a story that says that you like visiting the beaches, and then I think it wasn't lost on you that we have very terrible beaches, filthy beaches. And so one time you just packed a few things with your then girlfriend and you're like, let's just go do this. Is that right?
Yeah, but it's not like, this is how I started. For me, I believe in quietness comes truth.
Okay.
So whatever you want to, every truth in this life that you want to understand, just be quiet about it. Mm-hmm. And I believe you get the actual truth. So I love going to the beach because I love to be quiet sometimes. So one day, as usual, when I go there, I see the nature of debris running in the sea. And if not for anything, this is the sea that's more or less like the source of all the fish. In fact, all the aquatic animals that we eat, 90% of them are coming from the sea. So if we are littering or throwing a lot of plastics in the sea, then what might be the cause? So from my observation, I realized that the only instance where you see a lot of plastics at the seaside is when there has been a rain, either a day or two. Yeah. Where because of the behavior in the communities where people now pick their trash and throw into running waters, and there is too much filth on our streets. So one way or the other, the rain washes all of it and the sea is the final receiver. So now the question that I've been running through my mind every time I visit the sea was asking myself in my quietness, how do I help? That was the question. So one day, as usual, when I got there, and then as part of what I do every day, how do I help? And something just more or less like communicating with yourself. And the thing said, go and do Buzstop Boys. That's what I had in my head. And I was like, Buzstop Boys. Well, so I was personally, after that thing dropped in my head, I need to just connect and see if it makes sense. So I connected to say that, okay, fine, we can at least go to the bus stops and then begin to keep the whole place clean. Because if somebody enters Ghana for the first time, the first place of contact is the bus stop, because they might move on to another place. Yeah. And whatever it is that a bus stop is enough to say that you are living in the dirtiest country in the world. Because if people who are boarding vehicles are so comfortable with trash at the very place where they are most likely to spend like 30-20 minutes and nobody is complaining, then you can imagine what is happening in the communities that we don't get to see. So yes, we started on that note. When I came home, that was when I informed my girlfriend about how I think we need to do Buzstop Boys. I didn't know what, but then let's give it a try. So let's figure out a few bus stops and look at the situation, what we can clean and how we can even talk to people, so that more people understands why we don't have to even look on for things to go bad in terms of the environment. Is the fact that with the consequences doesn't care. President Mahama, malaria is not scared of President Mahama, and he knows it. Yeah. So if there's something we can all fight or we can all do in order to take off malaria, I think that one we shouldn't play politics about it. Yeah. So that's how it started. And from there, we did a little demonstration. And then from there, I involved a lot of guys, because I also realized that aside from anything, it needs the physical strength. And women are, for me, I see them to be soft. It's one way in terms of physicality. So I was like, okay, then still there's a need to involve more boys so that we can begin to raise awareness. But the end game to Buzstop Boys is a change of mindset that will eradicate all our problems, so we get to see the actual beauty of our country. Because if I have a mindset that says Ghana must win, there's no way I sign a contract and I say, okay, because we don't have the machine, you that have the machines, take 80 and give me that owns the resources 20. It will never happen unless you don't have the mindset of making Ghana a better place.
Wow. I'm actually excited you mentioned that the end goal of Buzstop Boys is a mindset shift, really. Because for me, I think I'm very passionate about the economic progress of our people, of this country, and by extension of this continent, right? And if you look at it historically, look at the Roman Empire, the bedrock of they becoming an economic powerhouse globally was that they were very intentional about sanitation and building intentional sanitation systems, like whether it's the aqueduct or the Cleo Maxima. If you look at America, it's the same thing. If you look at the UK, before the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, they had to do what they call the Great Filth. They had to deal with it, before the proper dawn of the Industrial Revolution. So I think as a country, one main marker for me is sanitation. Because how do you build an economy if your people are not in good health, if there's debt all over the place? So it's really exciting. Now, the question I want to ask is that, it's good you mentioned the president, because recently he just recognized you guys. Yeah, I know he done donations for you in the past, and then more so recently he gave you guys, he did an extra donation as president. So I know you started in 2023, right? So from 2023, June, July, thereabout ahead, June to same time 2025, just listening to a still small voice in your head, you've gained recognition, nationwide recognition. You are here recognized by the president of Ghana. Are you surprised?
No, surprised I'm not. I'm not surprised because at the end of the day, for me, my perception about life, maybe because of Apostle Dr. Engineer Kwadwo Safo, my perception about life is that I must always win in my head before somebody sees me winning. So if you don't, that's why I keep saying, if you are close to me, I always tell you that nobody can make you unless you. Because even if the most powerful human being on earth says that you will be great and you don't take steps, that words will never manifest itself.
Yeah.
So every time in my head, I see myself as being everywhere. So I am not surprised that you know me, because already I've been there in your head. I feel like the human body itself is a machine, and your hair is more or less like your antenna. So if you're able to, personally as a human, if you're able to keep yourself clean, not necessarily wearing nice clothes, but at least where you sleep, the 100 meters environment surrounding you, if you as a person can keep that clean, you must win, because cleanliness attracts positive energy or vibrations, or you can call it God. At the end of the day, if you are clean, there are energies that gives inspiration. For example, you've been struggling with how to manufacture maybe a mobile phone. There are clean energies that will give you that kind of idea for you to perceive your life. And if you live in a dirty environment, those clean energies, they have no time to be at places where they are not. And they are not energies who will come and be saying, They are not attracted to dirty places. Yeah. So as long as you have filth in your environment, even on a spiritual level, you are going nowhere. And like you're saying about US and America, they know that it's only by being clean that you attract that energy that keeps you moving forward. Yeah. So if you look at why Ghana is struggling so much, then go and check the sanitation history. It was better from the 80s into the 90s, and life was a bit better then than now. Today, everything is almost, I would say, dead. Even common understanding of the fact that there were things that we were doing in the past that nobody should convince us that they are evil. We don't have to agree, because whether we like it or not, the era of depot and the era of now, there is more young girls engaging in sexual activities today than the era of depot. So how then do we do this calculation? We simply have to understand that whether good or bad, Depot was keeping the girl child in a holy state up to a certain point. And now we've demonized everything that is us. And look at us, 13 years old, we can't trust their virginity. So I feel like we should understand that in our culture are a lot of things that we, as current generation, there's no time for us to be like our ancestors were B or they were Z. We have now. What can we do? If 100,000 of Ghanaian youth understand life on the perspective of how we can make it better for some other people, I tell you, we can make a lot. We can change a lot. Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, one day we will pass out. But life must still go on. Meaning that we can also sacrifice some of our time and stop blaming people. And because blaming hasn't given us any profit. We are 68 years old and you see things the way it is now. And you ask yourself, where are we going? Because in this 21st century where there's abundance of technology and AI, we are still holding brooms and sweeping. What happens to street sweeper? What happens to, practical or recycling, real recycling where you see what is being done? It's even job on its own. So for me, I don't just look at it as sanitation, but I look at it on a passionate level that 68 years, we have all failed. We should admit that we failed. It doesn't matter where you sit and where you live. On a collective level, we have failed. Today, look at everybody and look at how things are going. We can just make the change, but we need to understand that it will always take us to first of all believe that we are Ghanaians and nobody is bigger and better than us. Once we build this mindset, that mindset alone is enough to make things turn around. So the universe, once we have all built this kind of mindset, it becomes the collective will. Yeah. And the universe itself must make sure that that collective will manifests itself. Because it's everything that we hold here that comes out as physical. Yeah. So let me cite, before I end it, let me use your studio, for example, the content studio. Yeah. Before the physical structure, you have a plan in your head. That is the beginning or the formation stage of our life. So if you constantly talk about negativity, that's what we attract. Manifest. That is why it saddens my heart that today, in the name of media, you turn on radio, you turn on TV, and 90% of the ads are talking about how to have good sex. And when they finish, they turn around and look at Gen Zs and say they are bad girls. But who made them? You gave them the software to be physically what you see. So it's a whole system. There's a whole, how do I say it? Like, it's a whole subject that we need to, if we really want to change our story, unless we don't get sad about our situation. I guess I should end it here before I get emotional.
Yeah. Hello community, sorry to interrupt this conversation. So just to give you a certain subtle announcement, we already mentioned that we're working with WeWire on a couple of interesting things for you as a community. One of them, as it stands now, is a live event. We're going to share details soon, but then, just to keep you excited, like we said, WeWire is a B2B payment platform that allows merchants to make cross-border payments. And so, exciting things coming to WeWire. Now to the conversation. Your passion for this country has been kind of palpable, and I appreciate your leaning towards, the Eastern philosophy, the lyrics you're using, new age, the very new age energy vibration. I think there's this thing Jordan Peterson said in his 12 Rules of Life, and he talks about how if you're going to, in any way, lead a very productive life, the first thing you do is to make your bed, It's very symbolic of what you just shared about how there's just a psychological backing. It's like when you know that you are kept and you are responsible for that, it sort of dovetails into other things. It makes you want to do other things well, right? So we'll be fine. I'm too convicted that this country is going to be fine. We just have to keep having these conversations that people will catch on the flame. Okay, so Buzstop Boys, zoning in. Well, like I said, over the past 2 years, from a voice in your head that has manifested to now, you had to do a couple of things to get to this point, right? First off is people. Now you're running a non-profit, you see. How do you manage to, one, recruit people, and two, to incentivize them to do what you're doing with you?
Okay, so, from the onset, being or doing road construction or engineering it comes with, I think so far in Ghana, it's one of the works that pays beyond or above maybe 100, 300% more above the minimum wage. So from the onset, like when the whole thing began, everybody that comes around, I first of all need to let you understand that the whole goal is to promote clean and green environments. And the pointers are patriotism, volunteerism, and selflessness. So you need to understand what it means to be patriotic, to volunteer, and to be selfless. Once you understand these pointers, then I don't have to give you anything. But if I have something to give, it's just the beauty of it. But that's not a motive. So when the work is done, for that is from the beginning, you have to wait because we had nothing for sometimes 30 an hour until you see this aboboya trash collectors in passing, and then you give it out. Then after the few guys that comes around or are around, it's not always from the beginning, it wasn't always, but then we look out for the next available chop bar or eatery, and then everybody eats, and that's how we ends it. So as we progress, that's how it was. There are times when nobody, like there's nothing, because I can't be affording. The larger the number, I need to withdraw because I can't. So that was how we're doing it.
Were you working on the side? Were you
okay? So at the time, I say basically I was just enjoying my. I came back from, like I was telling you about my construction. I was in Boko. Boko is Upper East, just about 1 hour drive from Bogatanga. And the construction was from Boko through Polymakum. Polymakum is Ghana-Togo border, and the side is Ghana and Burkina Faso border. So the project was supposed to last for, I think, 5 years. But along the line, when government says there's no money, everybody must come back. So I came back in 2023 February. So yes, so within this period, I was basically enjoying my savings with the people. So I think from the February that I came and up on to what's the name, June, July, thereabout, when the idea came there, I was basically enjoying. So this is the money that I was spending together with everybody that come or that comes around. But then my father is a farmer, so I am a farmer automatically. So even whilst I was working, the little that I have, I push some to my father to also do farm. So I have my own bro and banshee and body and whatnot. Nice. That is who we are, Africans. We feed ourselves. Of course, we've lost and missing so much. So today I say there's a lot of black people, but there are few Africans, because being an African is not a skin; it's a mentality. So if I'm not surprised when I see people say, "Nah, I don't blame you. You're only black, but you're not African," because you can't degrade your source and be happy about it. It doesn't make sense. Yep. And whether we like it or not, whoever started, or our ancestors, even if they were monkeys, that's who we are, and we need to be proud of it. But we don't have to run away from changing it, because nobody can change your DNA. So basically that was the money I was spending with everybody, and how until people started supporting up to this point. So up to this point so far, when you come to know everybody, those who have been consistent, those who have been around for long, if you come to the location, when there's food, we eat. If there is none, we all find some food to eat. And after, to be able to compensate your transportation, we give you 50 cedis for at least those who have been around. It's not like you come the first day, you are not part of those who have committed and spent their own money. They've lost something in the name of Buzstop Boys or coming around. Those are the people that after a while, you also find ways and means to support your transportation. The sense is that you only know the value of what you have if you have lost something into it. So that's how come it comes. So there's no special way of recruit. It's just doing what we do. If you are touched by the message, you understand that, or you feel like the African in you is rising up in bit, then you must first of all come. Let's face our environment, because that's the first, or is the foundation of life. In everything that we do, if without the environment, we are basically chasing the air. Because I don't know a place that will survive without the environment. So the environment is not just the environment, but it is us. When it dies, we die. So protecting it, for me, I don't think it's worthy of saying that I'm not the MC, I'm not in charge, and blah blah. At least you can talk to somebody to just change the way they look at the environment, and that's how we all win.
I see. So I think I'm actually concerned projecting into the future for the Buzstop Boys. Over the period, I've heard, in a bid to understand the sustainable structures in place for the Buzstop Boys, people have been suggesting that you actually transition from a non-profit to a for-profit, and have a proper, more like Clem puts this way, what Zoom Lion has done, right? Make it a for-profit, take on contracts, and be able to afford the machinery and build systems. What are your thoughts on those things?
Yeah, I think like as everything, I remember the CEO of Facebook once said, no idea comes fully fetched. So it's true. Initially, we just wanted to do volunteerism, but along the line, we also realized that a lot of the youth that are coming around are jobless. And even far from that, I can give you simple calculation that sanitation alone can employ 1 million youths unless we are not paying attention. Because imagine we have, let's say, 50,000 road network in Accra. And every kilometer, we say we are representing 5 youth to take charge of it, make sure it's always clean and it's always tidy. So 5 youth, 5 kilometers, 1 kilometer, multiplied by 50,000 kilometers will give you about 250,000 jobs, permanent jobs. It's not like go and come tomorrow. And there's money to pay. Why? Because the stores along every stretch where these people work can be extra task. So at the end of the month, they get a cool 2,000 cedis. And I tell you, these are sustainable jobs that will be around. Even if not for anything, we can give it to the old people in our communities just to be the watchdogs at every kilometer. And we create 1 million jobs, as simple as that. So we thought of doing something. That's how come we have the Buzstop Boys, which is a registered waste management business.
Oh, okay.
That does anything cleaning. If you decide to give us an opportunity, we just come with some number of staffs, get a job done, and then you pay us so that these volunteers who are jobless will be resourced.
When did that start?
Okay, so this year. It was somewhere February this year. We registered the Pro. But we are not actively talking about it because we want to put in structures, because it's, GRA and how they do their things. Because what's the name, like a business, you need to put in the few things, the physical space and all of that. So that when somebody wants to come in, there can be proper documentation and the necessary taxes can also be paid. But nevertheless, if somebody is listening and want to contact us on the Buzstop Boy side, you can give us anything, whether a contract, whether a house cleaning, however it is. The Ghanaian youth are ready to work, and I believe that's how we grow.
I'm very curious. I mean, we've touched on the idea of mindset shifts and how it's very instrumental for what you're even trying to achieve with sanitation. But I want to ask, outside your volunteering bits, endeavors, so you go to a particular location today, you go do the work there. Outside what the Buzstop Boys is doing, like you've been doing this for a while now, what are some of the recommendations you would give when it comes to sustainable sanitation structures for the city? Because before I moved to Accra, I wasn't born or raised in Accra. I moved to Accra a few years ago, and staying in the, should I say, countryside or the suburban areas, you heard stories of Accra. We had an idea of what Accra was. But to my utter disappointment now, Accra is probably the filthiest city I've lived in. Terrible. And so my question really is that, and I mean, over the period, we've had people who do this because they have keep fit clubs, or churches, or some group that want to do something in a community, like what you guys are doing. They'll go take out the things in the gutter, the filth, and then a few days later, it happens again. Like, so for you, in your mind's eye, what do you see? What are some of the structures you would recommend that we put in place as a country to make our efforts to a clean Ghana more sustainable?
Okay, so talking about sustainability, the first thing will be all these spaces needs constant cleaning. For God's sake, we all started brushing our teeth maybe after age 7. And until this age, we are still brushing. It means that cleaning is not something that we should be talking about a day. It's a daily process. And before anybody step out to go and sit at any office, the cleaners first come and clean those places. That is how come your office is neat. But on the street, there's nobody who is mandated to keep an eye on the street and make sure they are also always there and doing it. If they are, maybe they go once in a week or they don't even go at all. But that is not a kind of sustainability. That is not what we have to do. That's what we have been doing for the past years, and we are not seeing real results. So that's why I'm saying that for places like La Paz, we know La Paz is quite filthy because there's a lot of people commuting the road. But then how do we also maintain cleanliness on the stretch? We can employ youth actively working on that particular, let's say from Las Palmas to, let's say, Fly Top. This stretch is given to like 10 youth who are constantly sweeping. There are dustbins that needs to be emptied on a constant level. So then with these people in place, we can now even practice segregation on the streets where we have labeled bins for every purpose. And now that we have plastics going in a plastic bin, recycling can now come into the conversation, another employment. Because constant recycling, we can manufacture even plastic chairs, rubber buckets. There's a lot of things we can do with these plastics that we think are the problem. It will give us another business. Now, the same recycling, from the same segregation, we can do organic compost. From the organic waste, that will be because people eat. They buy buffalo or buffalo, the remains they throw. But if there's a bin, they'll put it in there. And then we can use this also for organic fertilizer. At the same time, we can even give out to people who have backyard gardens to plant their own tomato. Then we also indirectly shifting from the GMO that we are crying loud for. In the same spirit, the paper side can also be used to do tea roll. So when we talk about waste itself, it's a whole industry that has a lot of money. That even if we want to prioritize waste alone in Ghana, we can make a lot of things that I'm sure our GDP will do better than where we have been running for the past.
Did you tell the president all this when you met him?
Well, meeting the president, it wasn't like meet the president and tell him what is on your mind. It was just like a donation, and you must say thank you.
Yeah.
So everything I said was, I didn't even know if I knew I would be given the opportunity to even speak. Maybe I would have said something different. Yeah. But then I believe social media is still powerful. We are here. Yeah. If president is listening, for me, I can promise him that if he puts his trust in the youth, we this generation, for me, I don't care whether it's MPP or NDC or CPP or GDP. Me, my worry and what I want to see is Ghana being a better place.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we have millions of youth who's thinking like me. So say if you are watching, then you can find a way to make our environment the greatest place. As youth, as people who are the direct beneficiary of the environment, we can also promise you that we are ready to make it a better place for ourselves. And if not for anything, everything dies. Everything dies, but the memories live forever. You can be, maybe you go into history as the president who made Ghana the cleanest city in Africa. And this credit is for you. But we, the youth, are ready to make our country a better place. And all we are asking is to take the advantage of our energy. So indirectly, by resourcing us as youth, we are ending red. Because a lot of people are doing red because of the economic situation. Sometimes when you are hungry and you don't have any option, you might think drugs will give you excuse from the hunger. But the truth is, after 2-3 hours, you come back hungry. When people are busy, they do less drugs. But when they are idle and you don't have anywhere to go, then it becomes your only means of survival. So we are basically saying that sanitation can employ millions of the youth. Yeah. And it's simple by just putting them in charge at a particular, let's say, meters or spot. And when they are misbehaving, we take them out and bring another person in. This is our simple message and our plea. If Mr. President will listen to us, it's easy for me. I can tell you that in 2 years, we can make a lot of change in terms of sanitation. We can put a lot of greens in our medians. Yeah. We can restore what it means to have a city. For now, we have a city, but we are not living by the name.
Interesting. I think there are stories of the era of Rollins and a Champon, General Champon, that when they came to power, one of the things that they did was ensure certain sanitation behavior methods, like they solicited certain mindsets when it came to sanitation among the Ghanaian people. Anyway, so your girlfriend, the person you started this thing with, are you guys still together? I hear you guys are married now.
Yeah. We have a bouncing baby daughter now.
Interesting. And how's it going?
Yeah, so far so good. We've been good.
So is Buzstop Boys your primary engagement?
Yeah, for now, say yes.
Okay. How has that dynamic changed your outlook on life? Your daughter, the introduction of your daughter? having a child now?
Well, I think I took it in. It's normal. Like, I just feel like if I need to change anybody, it has to be my daughter.
Yeah.
She if there are things that I won't be able to do, she should be able to do it. And so the best thing I can tell her is that she is what she is, and she's the best thing to ever happen to life. When she has that mindset, nobody can cheat you in this life.
Yeah.
Because even with that mindset, even if you are going into a relationship, you first look out for your interest. If it's not going to make you move. You don't add attachment. When you move, and that is life.
Yeah.
And so I think I have a lot of work to do, especially on my daughter, because like they say, if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. When women are, bold and they stand up to issues, they solve problems better than men.
Yeah.
I tell you that where just about 50 women can stop Galamsey, but 100,000 men will be there and be speaking grammar. Galamsey will not stop. Because those who can change the earth really are women. So sometimes I get emotional when I see women joking with their lives in the name of what you get now. None of those matter. Today, if you are talking about something or 2 for 32, the father doesn't come into the equation. They talk about mother. So mothers, when they begin, or ladies, when they begin to understand that what is truly DS is the name that they live, then automatically they are careful with their lives.
Yeah.
For me as a man, I can misbehave, but you as a woman, you cannot, because if it gets to that point and your daughter or your son is misbehaving on the street, they will point to you and say, "Ajwa man samba akusia tana." But they will not talk about the father. In the same spirit, if this greatness, they talk about the mother, just as Otunfo mother is what is being recognized. Even though they are presidents, they talk about their mother. So we're going to Kufo Mamena and John Romani Mahama Pamena, but they don't fathers. So with all respect to our girls, it's good to be westernized, but hey, it's everything to be African.
Yeah. I'm really encouraged by your outlook on life. And now I think I understand the machine properly, the engine running this thing. I think for me, it points to something higher. That you are doing this not just for the sake of it. You are being intentional, and it points to the progress we can enjoy as a people. I admire from this little conversation, your mindset on the African spirit, so to speak, and your ideals of selflessness and patriotism. And I really hope that people buy into this thing properly. I hope that structures are put in place to make it more sustainable. We don't have a lot of time. We started this thing at you're a very busy man, so we can't continue this for a long time. But then moving forward, we hope that we rally behind what you're doing properly, because it's very, very critical. Like I've said, it's very, very instrumental to what we want to achieve as a people. And I really hope you don't lose your resolve. And all the best what you're doing with the Buzstop Boys. And I hope that with time it becomes Buzstop, because where are the girls?
Well, the name is like laptop here. Anywhere you put it, the name doesn't change the name.
Okay, thank you very much, Kosafo.
Thank you.
And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, friends, that was the founder of the Buzstop Boys, Heneba Kwadwo Safo. And as our mantra remains, just build something.